Hello and welcome back to the Current Conservative. We are picking it back up at year end and we're really excited. It's been an incredible year. There's been lots of changes, lots of exciting blessings and updates, and we're just I think Allie and I are really grateful to have this little project going, and we hope to be we hope to be more consistent in the future and build it up, but it is, definitely a passion project for us, and so we're just excited to just chat a little bit today and update you all and just see where the conversation goes. So Allie, thanks for joining.
Oh, of
As
course.
always.
Happy to be here. Yes, yes. And I just I don't know about you, but I feel like if you would have sat us down, even after living through 2020, 2021, 2022, and you would have sat us down in January of 2023 and you would have told us, what would have happened this year, we might have just kind of been okay. But now we're at the end of the year and we're like, wow, we are victorious.
We have survived the Great War of 2023.
And it
hasn't
totally
even culminated yet. Like the worst is still
the worst is yet to come. So it's gonna be a really positive episode.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, but for real, okay, we were trying to think before we started recording some top moments for us. And I mean, at the top of my head, we have sent over $200 billion to Ukraine. We have
I am
entered.
So proud of all the hard-earned workers who sent their money over to Ukraine.
Yes, and those $75 million yachts that apparently the Ukrainian government has bought. We love to see it. And
we hope you really enjoy those yachts.
Yeah, enjoy that. And then we've also entered into yet another endless war. Not totally officially our war has not been yet declared, but we all know what's gonna be happening in 2024. Let me just say that.
Yeah. Don't even bring up Taiwan, because that's next.
Oh, that's next. So I
Taiwan,
think
we be coming for you. Oh my
yeah,
God.
well, I mean, yeah, we also had Xi Jinping, a communist dictator, visit my governor here in California. So that was a highlight of the year. We had Joe Biden falling down, I think, at least twice. Did the bike incident happen this year?
Definitely more than that. It was 100% he's fallen
we have a commander in chief regularly. Yeah, we have a commander in chief regularly falling on his face. So that's where we are mentally.
So where did it was in the Tucker Carlson interview with Alex Jones, and he was saying that they have it on a good source, multiple sources, that Joe Biden walks around the White House naked, doesn't know who he is, doesn't know where he is just
on medication,
completely senile, on medication. The source literally said that he or she had witnessed Joe Biden taking amphetamines. Okay. We literally have an invalid as a president.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So anyway,
it's
all that to
deeply
say
disturbing.
2024 is looking super exciting and bright for our country. Literally, I can't say that
Great
with more
things
sarcasm.
on the horizon.
Yeah. I mean, we're anticipating a complete financial crash, a total economic turmoil within the housing real estate industry. I mean, again,
inflation through the roof.
Yeah, the dollar is going to collapse. We're probably 100%. Going to enter into World War III.
Digital. Oh, okay. I was going to say digital currency.
Yeah, digital currency enacted by the federal government. So live, laugh, love. We also can see in 2024 China invading Taiwan. And
right. possibly another stolen election or no election at all.
No, you more than anyone have been saying that since literally 2020. But we'll get to that later. But I just kind of wanted to like say maybe the theme of this episode could go along the lines of like, listen, if you've been with us since 2020 and you are still a little trusting in the government, 2023 should be that final nail on the coffin for you. And if not, you're dumb. I don't know how else to say it. I do not know how else to say it.
Let's say if it's not the nail in the coffin for you, what would be the nail in the coffin? You know what I'm saying? Like, I try
Let's
to
go
get
there.
into the minds of people who are not paying attention, clearly unconscious, and just living their life day to day, not paying attention,
on their
and
15th
have no idea that
booster.
right, wearing 2 masks in their car by themselves and thinks that, you know, we are saving the poor people of Ukraine.
Right. But at the same time,
And
I feel like
that also that radical Islamic fundamentalism is really a great achievement, and the US should welcome Sharia law.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I feel like in a sense, the leftist media and the leftist talking points want us to believe that obviously they're that viewpoint of like, you know, the 15th, the people that are on their 15th booster who are like pro-Ukraine, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, who are like looking forward to voting for Biden in 2024 are the majority, which like I think the latest stats on the vaccine is like, I think it's less than 5%, even maybe less than that are currently up to date on their vaccines. And then also, if you just consider how many people are actually still masking, you do see it a lot, especially I see it more like in airports and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, like, you have to kind of consider those things and understand, okay, well, maybe, like, yeah, people are coming to their senses and realizing, like, this administration is off their ever-loving rocker. You know? I don't know. I don't know my point in all this.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, I think that there has been a lot of, not to use this word incorrectly, but there has been progress in the sense of, like, people are waking up and actually are seeing the direction of our country, and they want absolutely nothing to do with it. And so, anyway, go ahead.
Absolutely. And I mean, I think the booster people, I don't know if they can really be saved at this point, because I think that they crave that leadership, you know, controlling them. The part that worries me a little bit, or the group of people that worry me about our future, you know, looking forward to our future, is America's future, is the people who welcome the overreaching technology and artificial intelligence. Like, that aspect of our future world is very concerning to me, and
yeah,
I don't like it at all. Like, I just don't it doesn't feel natural to me. It doesn't feel like something that will bring us closer to a harmonious, you know, landscape in our world. I think, I mean, we're even at the point where artificial intelligence is so smart where it can actually modify itself and change itself, and that is just, I don't even know
terrifying.
How to like process that. It's terrifying.
No.
And like Eva Vlardingerbrook, like she was just said it so eloquently. Like, really, I never thought about it in that way, which is like with the central banking digital currency, or is that if you go and you want to, I mean, I kind of already knew this. There was a really good, you know, they make really good videos about this in China. But like, if you go to buy a cheeseburger and they're like, "Ooh, like you can't because you don't have enough points or credits." And then,
Mm.
"Oh, but if you want to buy 5 credits for, $10, then you can do that." You know what I mean? It's just like, so
Ugh.
now they're making a profit off people too, which is so disgusting and scammy. And then the other guy was like, in China, was like on Dan Bongino, he showed this video and he was like going to buy a high-speed train ticket, and he's like, "Oh, yay, I finally have enough like points to be able to ride the train."
Oh,
He's like,
that's
"I
so
feel like a normal
scary.
person. I feel like a normal
That
person
is,
now." And I'm like, what? Like they
yeah.
welcome it. They are totally fine with it, and it's a comfortable place to be for them. And that is terrifying to me, like that they are like inherently like their souls don't tell, I mean, maybe deep down inside, but they're not getting like a trigger
Mhm.
warning like, "Hey, like
Yeah.
red alarms going off, like you're literally a slave
Yes. Yeah, and
to
I mean, I
technology and to the
right.
system, to the government." It's just, it blows my mind. Those are the people that I'm like, I don't think that they can, I mean, they also cannot be helped.
Yeah, well, I mean, especially China and like Asia, they're generations deep into indoctrination. The younger generations don't even know about like Tiananmen Square, like because the older generations can't even talk about it or remember it, and then the younger generations aren't educated on it, and so it's like there's this total disconnect, and the younger generations are just accepting like this way of life of collectivism, doing things that are for the better good of the society. And like
Mhm.
America is really one of the last standing countries who really embraces individualism. At least we're hanging on by a thread, and that's
Right.
what propels so much of the type of work that you and I do to bring awareness to the younger generation, especially parents who have these young kids. um and we're just kind of like waving a banner of like, this is actually what you need to be instilling in your kids, not just
Mhm.
letting them go willy-nilly and watch Disney Channel all day long, because they're sadly going to become a socialist if you leave
They're
them
being
to
propagandized, yeah.
yeah, if you leave them to the greater good or greater power. So um yeah, like the AGI thing. So I'm sure you've listened to the that episode with Alex Jones and Tucker Carlson, and I think they touched on AGI for a little bit towards the end, and just the next step of this like transhumanism agenda
Mhm.
that these technocrats are like racing towards, and especially in considering Elon Musk's that brain chip that he's been developing. And I just don't
Neuralink.
think that like, yeah, Neuralink, I just don't think that like the average person fully understands like what's going to be happening in the next 10, 15, 20 years. Like, we're going to be able to get a chip in
S
our brain
That's
that
exactly.
downloads information, like literally transhumanism. Like, it's beyond transgenderism. It's combining man and machine. That's the next step to this progressive thing. And I'm like, I feel it's so dystopian.
Right. We're entering into a new chapter of, controlling totalitarianist societal structures. And it's, like you always say, the technocracy, which is something that kind of makes sense, because I think those thinkers and schools, people who created these schools of thought of communistic or collectivist, controlling societies, understood that technology would eventually become so advanced that they could control the structure through that advanced technology. And I think you're right. I don't believe that these people understand what it is. In fact, I think that they actually think it's kind of cool, um,
Mm-hmm.
which is just shocking to me. I mean, I think part of the propaganda too is um, reshaping people's idea of what life is supposed to look like. And for us, we are very connected to American values, of course, and what that means, you
Mm-hmm.
know, living, farm to table, like living on a farm, like seeing animals actually like producing your own food and being in nature and enjoying the world and the beauty of the world that God has given us. And I think a lot of people who have been in this system, you know, who have gone to the universities, have become radicalized and are, you know, fully indoctrinated by the propaganda. Like their entire mindset of the world and their life is just, it looks completely different. Their vision of their lives looks completely different from what ours looks like, you know,
Mhm.
living off the grid and having children and, you know, having a beautiful marriage that glorifies God and all of these things, and promoting American values and raising your children to be patriots who will die for their freedom. And we are losing it. And I think the people who don't see that, it's just because they, I don't know, simply don't stand with those values. They don't stand with that vision of America. And that
Mhm.
is the toughest part for me, like the toughest pill for me to swallow. And of course, like just to piggyback it, it does make it so much more important to reach younger people, because if we do allow them, or not allow them, that's the wrong word, but if you do, you know, have your kids, you know, entertained by Hollywood media and, you know, going to a public school, which I'm not saying it's like the worst thing you could do, but it's pretty up there. They're going to be indoctrinated. Like there just isn't there isn't a fine line anymore. Like it's all just one big basket, you know. So
Yeah.
that that's stressful. And this year I think will really be the culmination too of those lines being drawn, because I think that's part of their tactic, you know, part of their in their toolbox, as we always talk about, is the division and creating chaos and creating that divide between people, whether it's race, class, you know, religion, national, like whatever it is, you know, it is always the oppressed and the oppressor, the haves and the have nots. And I think, you know, they have done a very good job of that in the past, you know, few decades, I guess you can say, because it was, I think, slow and then kind of ramped up, and especially with the
Mhm.
riots and all of that. But I do think that now people are like, there is a majority of people who don't want to go that direction. And I mean, you just see videos every day of people talking about how horrible this economy is and how they, you know, don't like the Biden regime. And I just believe that, in closing, that 2024 is going to show, I think it's going to come to a head of, you know, where we stand when it comes to the division of people who are really just like, will are just completely in a cult, and people who,
Mhm.
you know, can stand up and say, hey, I see all these people around me. It's not so scary to say that, yeah, I love this country and I'm willing to stand up for its values and for American liberty.
Yeah. No, I think there's definitely going to be a stark contrast. I think that 2023 certainly laid the foundation for people to begin to understand that concept, that, you know, there is an intentional divide within our society, and it's just going to get worse. Like, I think earlier we were talking about how that professor, um, is holding a non-whites, like no whites are invited to this Christmas party. And it's just really sad to see things like that come up. And obviously, you know, we're having a lot of like anti-Semitic uh, activity happening across our country with the pro-Palestinian protests and such like that. And yeah, I mean, it goes back to this demonic ideology that is rooted in communism, that is extremely atheist and anti-God,
Yep.
where they can manufacture division between the have and have nots. And
Right.
socialism is really, like, I say this a lot, it's like the doctrine of envy. It's looking at what others are able to achieve and get for themselves and saying, I want that too. Make the government take it from them so that I can have that equality, you know. And that's a complete
Hmm.
lie, because again, it's uprooting these American foundational values that were explored in like the 16th, 15th, 17th century. I would say maybe probably closer to the
Hmm.
16th and 17th century, where these concepts and ideals were really beginning to develop in human society, because they were coming from the age of discovery, where it was just complete decolonization, barbarianism, child marriage. You know, there were no actual human law. Like before then we had like the empires, and these empires did whatever they wanted. It was tyrannical, and there were the
Mhm.
peasants, and they had no rights. They had no concept of individual liberty and freedom, free market competition, being able to
Right.
provide a income for themselves and not have it all be taxed by these authoritarian regimes that just threw their
Monarchies,
countries
yeah.
threw their countries into war and battle, and all these young men fought and were killed and died for just these empty, you know, like empty countries that just didn't serve them. And then along came this idea of like American freedom, and like our we did this really great piece on like the early pilgrims and how they actually started to develop this process of communism. It wasn't really called communism
Mhm.
because communism wasn't yet developed then, but they shared all the land. All the pilgrims
Right.
shared the land, and then they fell into famine 3 years in a row. And then
Mhm.
eventually, William Bradford was like, we have to stop doing this. Like, this is so treacherous and miserable. We're heading into our 4th year. And he was like, and no more of this chaos. And he gave each family their own plot of land. And the reports
Mhm.
came back where the young men were so happy, the young wives were so happy, they were able to bring their children out to the field, grow their own harvest, be able to sell, free market capitalism right there in the beginning of American American history, and
Mhm.
so really, like, if you really consider all of history and the natural way humans progress, we have a tendency to progress towards tyranny and control of the people. And yeah, again, the American dream revolves around the individual being able to pursue whatever they can possibly dream for themselves. And,
Mhm.
just in the last 30 years, we've had the internet boom, and the internet just has opened up a total new concept of free market capitalism, because you could start a little shop online and be able to sell your little crafts at home, or you can scale your skill set. Like, it's just the opportunities are endless in a country like America,
Mhm.
whereas in China, you're under the boot of these socialist communist regimes that have no interest in your personal desires and dreams. And that really is what separates this current political agenda, because that false ideology that is rooted in control is like seeping in ever so slightly and in disguise. So anyway, I think we're both very equally passionate about this, but I wanted to say earlier we were talking about like the 2024, like what we're kind of seeing maybe on like our bingo card, and I had mentioned the housing market collapse. But I was reading, because I don't know if you've seen recently, the Federal Reserve has announced that they're going to drop interest rates like 6 times in 2024. And actually, a lot of people have their ears perked up, because that doesn't necessarily mean that like inflation's going to go down or anything. It's actually going to make cause things to become worse, because then housing prices can go up even more because of the interest rates going down. I don't know. I'm not a financial expert, but it's going to be very interesting. And then all of these foreign interest banks and these people from China and other countries can come in and basically swoop up on um, this housing collapse that the average American citizen is no longer able to afford. But of course, these Chinese interests, can come in and swoop up all these neighborhoods and own our houses, own our land. And you were saying like, the conservative movement is pushing towards no, like, buy land, get a house, etc., etc. But that dream is continuing to crumble because of the Federal Reserve. It's the Federal
Yep.
Reserve. Yeah. And that's the
It
part where I
is.
get
It
so
truly is.
annoyed. I get so annoyed because leftists are always like, the government, I don't know exactly what they want, but they don't ever look to the Federal Reserve for the issue. And I don't think that enough people are understanding the system of the Federal Reserve was created in like 1913. And, you progress each decade down the line. And, our grandparents' generation had it probably the best because it was after the war. Everyone was happy. They were able to buy a house for like $2,000, able to buy a car, etc. And then as the Federal Reserve began to print money, the money devalued. So then you needed more and more and more. And then in the 70s, they created the credit system. And the credit system allowed people to have fake money. And then fake money gets lent out to the banks lend out the fake money 10 times. And then that devalues our money even more. So then you fast forward 100 years and we're on this completely false system with actually no stability, no foundation. We're living in an illusion. I'm going on like an Alex Jones rant. But like we're living under an illusion. And for some reason, go ahead, sorry.
I was just going to say that we're living in the corporation of the United States.
Yeah. And so we have to get back to the gold
it's literally
standard.
a corporation. Right. And we are literally like servants in the corporation. We are workers in the corporation, and we obviously like owe taxes, and they're just, like you said, creating this false system so that they can overuse and just like basically run it till the wheels fall off.
Yeah. And we're at the end of their system. And that's what like people aren't understanding with inflation and how leftists are saying that the wages aren't keeping up. And so we need to rise the wages. That's not going to help anything. That's literally putting a Band-Aid on cancer. Like the cancer is going to continue to grow, but you think you're all better with the Band-Aid. That doesn't make sense.
Well, it also like yes, and it reinforces this idea that, oh, well, the working people aren't getting what they're paid, what they should be getting paid. They're not being appreciated for the value that they offer to these big corporations. We have to pay them more, and the corporations are making so much money. Like it reinforces this idea of, the proletariat, the bourgeoisie, like this class system, you know what I mean? That, oh, well, they're just not getting paid. And well, the prices of things go up, and it's like, no, it really doesn't have to be that way. Like it really doesn't. We shouldn't be having to make an average of $150,000 a year to buy a modest house in any medium-sized
Iowa
town or city.
like yeah, it's like
literally.
Our generation has just continued to be literally screwed over by the Federal Reserve and this illusion that they're making us live under. And I'm very passionate about this topic because I hope young people come to the realization that, somehow, some way we can actually end this tyranny and this system of oppression that they've actually instilled. You want to talk about oppression, leftists? Talk about the Federal Reserve. I don't hear you talking about that. But, I saw this really interesting video, and I'm trying to remember where I saw it. I think it was an Alex Jones video, honestly. But he was talking about how, like, do you remember the 1%, like, Wall Street, Occupy Wall Street stuff? Okay, and then at the same time, we were having like the Tea Party movement, right? Where they were like, we have to get off the Federal Reserve. That was the same argument, but the media and these politicians divided us thinking that we were on separate sides. But really, we're not. We're not at all. And that's the part where I get so like frustrated with leftists because I'm just like, you're not seeing all of it. And it's almost like they do it on purpose because they know that they need to, quote unquote, collapse capitalism. They believe that capitalism will get to like a late stage, which is corporatism, which is kind of what we're living in right now. So it's like they're doing this intentionally to get to their revolution phase where they can, quote unquote, overthrow the government and then, quote unquote,
overthrow the system.
And overthrow everything. But they're not doing it. My niece just got home. Hold on. Come here, I'm recording. You want to say hi? Hi. Okay, I'll be out in a little bit, okay? Oh gosh. Ruby, I'm recording a podcast. I'll be out in a little bit, okay? Okay. Okay, I love you. Oh, so happy to see you. Will you close the door? Thanks, sweetie. Okay. Oh. I didn't know they were coming home right now. So
Surprise
cute.
appearance.
Yeah, right after my Federal Reserve
Precious
rant.
baby.
Mm-hmm.
The Federal Reserve. Oh my gosh. Well, it is. Now you
Anyway.
know. It's the Federal
Yeah.
Reserve. And just like that kind of goes on with something I was going to say earlier, that um it is kind of human nature for the loudest person in the room to take control of the situation, and I think that happened at a really early stage in the entire cycle of like the elite, deep state taking over all of our institutions. And for the most part, like, people really don't like to ruffle feathers. Like, the majority of humans don't like to ruffle feathers. And then you have like that 1 in 100 people who are like, no, I'm gonna be the loudest person in the room. And I think, they demand that control. And I think more than likely they get, swayed into the evil darkness and use that, position for nefarious, reasons. And
Mm-hmm.
then all of these, young leftists who are like, oh, it's, destroy capitalism. Like, they believe that they don't really have to do their own due diligence, because they're like, oh, well, the loudest person in the room probably is the smartest person in the room as well. And that's just simply not the case. And so,
No.
yeah, it is pretty wild to see, like, looking back, like, how some of those things totally overlap. And people have been talking about the Federal Reserve for so many years. And when
Yeah.
you start to see like how much significance that really has in what's going on, and how the deep state is truly panicking so much because they know that the system is ending, and that's why they're pushing so hard for the digital currency. So it's
Mm-hmm.
crazy. I think
So true.
2024 is going to be just a wild year. But
It's gonna be huge.
any closing thoughts?
Yeah.
It's going to be huge.
You know, like we said in the beginning, I'm looking forward to being, obviously, hopefully more consistent with the recording and everything, and being more intentional about it. And we would love to get like an intro going, like an intro music thingy,
Yeah.
majiggy. Yeah. So exciting.
Yeah.
And yeah, just continue to advance our skill set and develop all of that stuff. And obviously, I'm getting married in 2024, so I'm very excited. It's kind of surreal. And yeah, we have a lot of really fun, cool things coming up, and
Yeah.
we'll see where this podcast goes.
So
That's
exciting.
my
We have
little
lots of
closing thought.
exciting events and developments to come.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yes.
we shall leave it there, and
Yes.
hope you have a great night, and we will chat with you next time.
Okay. Bye.
Bye, everybody.